Welcome to the Gooners podcast. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's just like the craziest time to be an Arsenal supporter right now.
It is.
Without any further ado, and then I'll get back to my normal my questions for you, Andy. We'd love to welcome back to the podcast. We're going to play a little game here called "There's three of us on the podcast today. Guess which two of us never played for Arsenal." We'll give you guys each about 30 seconds to put in your guess. No, just kidding. Welcome back to the podcast. A man who now has something in common with Carl Jenkinson, as he has been sold to Nottingham Forest. Our mate Super Kevin Campbell. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, guys. It's good to be back up.
Yeah, good to have you back on. What have you been up to lately? What kind of a summer was it for you?
It was an interesting one. I could say that. I could tell you that much. There was a lot of stuff going on with family, with the foundations that I work with, business, as well as looking at new, improved ways how to connect the Arsenal fan base, because, this has been a very tough summer, I believe, for a lot of Arsenal fans. There's a lot of uncertainty been going around. And that, We Care Do You campaign really kicked off. I really believed in it, and I still believe in it, because I think for years and years and years, the fan base has been disjointed. It really has. So, me and the girls at the Highbury squad and some other people, we're thinking of doing things where we could really connect the Arsenal fans around the globe. I think it's going to be really important that we don't take our foot off the pedal, and we really push this "We Care Do You" campaign forward.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that because it's been a huge talking point. It drops onto the scene the morning of the 15th of July when I'm in Denver with Andy, getting ready to to attend an exhibition game, and prompts a response from KSE in the form of a statement, a video, a sit down with some half-assed podcasters from the United States. So I was going to ask you where you land on the topic for the benefit of our listeners, but you've pretty much just made that clear. It can't just be about the transfer window, and it can't be done when the transfer window is over, even if it proves to be as successful as it looks, right?
Well, just like I said previously, Mike, what you got to do is you've got to actually look at what does the actual statement mean. The statement means we care, and obviously the second part is do you. So if we care enough, we're not just going to have it regarding transfers. What it has to do, it has to connect us. It has to connect us. The way, looking at the way everything went out in America, you guys were awesome. And a lot of Gooners in England didn't even know it would be so good. The way you Gooners are so into Arsenal. So I believe it's global now. This club is global. There's a global audience. There's a global fan base, and that's what we got to do. We got to unite it, and we got to stay on that unity, because whatever happens, we have to stay together as a fan base. We do.
Yeah, and it is about so much more than just transfers, and I think that was. I think, Andy, we can tell you that it kind of seemed as though they felt that the whole thing was about spending money and about transfers, which is part of the original problem. I mean,
right.
That's the impression that we got is, what more can we do? We've changed our structure, our management. We're spending money. We have spent money. And that's where we kind of got the sense that there was a great deal of the message that was not resonating and still needed to resonate. I mean, Andy, what was your impression about the connection and the other elements of the letter, and as far as whether you think they're going to be getting that?
As we've said before, obviously we were lucky enough to be sitting in a room with Josh, but you could tell the pain in his voice. And if you go back and listen to the audio of our interview, you could tell. And I think it wasn't just necessarily spend the money. It was, I do want the best for this club. It's how do we do it? And we've talked about it before, like the transition of, you can't come out and throw Ivan and Arsene under the bus for mismanaging. He's also not going to admit that he was naive with transfers. I think now we have football minds at the club making these moves. We're starting to see a lot happen. We look at the David Luiz situation today. Is he the right player at this moment? No. Does he want to come to Arsenal? It seems so. He's not just a good defender. He's also a leader. He's also someone who will push this dressing room, who's been there, done that. So we're seeing football minds trying to find those players to help fill some of the other gaps as well. So, I think Josh has done the right thing. And I truly believe that we're on the right path, Mike. We're starting to attract players in the Premier League that are desperate to come and join us with Zaha and Luiz. We haven't seen that in the last 5-6 years. Like, these players are now asking to come and join us. It's just a very different time. It's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like the 2 years, soon to be 3, of missing out on Champions League football is understood, but it's also understood that we're on the fast track back.
I love that we're taking a gamble to get back in.
Well, yeah, we had to.
Gamble, but
they are going against what I had feared, which was, as soon as we stopped getting that revenue, they would stop spending the outlay on it, and we just kind of settle in as a 6th or 7th place team every season. So it's nice to see that has been woken up. Andy, what do we got on the screen here?
Just saw something quickly on Twitter. So we are transfer fees out is 24, or let's just round it up 25. But look at the savings for salary, Mike, this season. It's 29 million. Now, obviously, Pepe coming in, that's gonna change it. But I heard he wasn't on crazy money. But you can see that we're doing business. We're doing well in starting to. We've got money to spend, which is great.
Kevin, Carl Jenkinson, £2 million. Now, in 1995, I believe you transferred from Arsenal to Nottingham Forest as well for £2.5 million. Given the inflation in the last 25 years in football, is it at all strange that your transfer fee is still higher than his? I'm not comparing you as players by any means. I'm just saying,
Mike. I think what we have to take into consideration is Carl Jenkinson he's been a good servant to Arsenal. He hasn't had the kind of career at Arsenal that he would have liked, being an Arsenal fan. But he has served his purposes to the management there, and you really want to. Somebody like him, you want to give him the opportunity to go and play. So the gesture, because that's what it is, it's a gesture at £2 million.
Yeah.
You say no problem. You go with our blessing, and we wish you all the best. Unlike someone, I'm sure we're going to talk about, going over to France. So
yes, yeah.
It was a nice gesture from the club to be able to do that to one of their own guys. It was nice.
And the way he left was nothing but class. Although I do have to say, and I'm trying to bring something up on the screen here. Dude doesn't look too happy about it. This is a picture of the release by the club without the "this sucks" part. I've added that to the picture, but I've never seen somebody quite looking more like a prisoner than this picture. But anyway, I just I do want to say, because we know he's listening, Carl, good luck to you. Best of luck. Thank you for everything.
Mike, what you got to understand is, we were told when we were kids at Arsenal, if you get to play at this club and you leave this club, then you will realize just how good this club is. Because when you're on the inside, it becomes the norm. But when you leave Arsenal, then you realize what class that club is. It's not called the Arsenal for anything.
Yeah,
that place is an institution.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those youngsters who are actually there at the moment, who have come through the ranks, believe you me, they don't realize where their bread's buttered yet. So, going on loan and seeing what it's like on the other side is really important for some of these lads to appreciate where they are.
That's a great point, and one that obviously you are qualified to speak about. And so, I think maybe you see some of these guys coming back from loan who don't end up getting sold on with a renewed energy and a vigor to lay their heart on the line. So, speaking of transfers, I mean, since the team returned from America, we've been linked with just about everybody short of Pele and Franz Beckenbauer. We even heard that Arsenal put in a cheeky double bid to get you and Tyrese to come back to the team together. You can probably rubbish that if you'd like, but what do you make of the transfer?
He's under contract, Mike, and I'm too expensive at the moment.
Yeah, that transfer fee incoming is going to be a lot more than the outgoing one was 24 years ago. But what do you make of the transfer window so far? I mean, there's 24 hours remaining, and by all accounts, it's going to be an absolute roller coaster, unlike in previous years where we got people lying on the beach playing football, judging beauty contests and talent contests and stuff on the final day. It looks like they're going to be in the war room plugging away until the very last minute. What do you think?
You want the truth?
I do. That's what we have you on.
Can we handle it?
Listen, the truth is they've surprised me so far. I've got to say that I was very skeptical. We always said at the end of last season that we're going to find out if Arsenal are serious in this transfer window. We know it's not over yet, but the acquisition of Salt and Pepe, Nicola Pepe, is a statement as far as I'm concerned. We know they want to do business. We know they want to go out and get better players. They want to get Tierney. I'm sure they're going to do that deal before 5 p.m. tomorrow. They want to go out and get another centre-half. There's David Luiz there as well, who, if we're honest, I know there's some Arsenal fans who are saying, we don't want him. He's a title winner. He's a cup winner. And you don't leave Chelsea, go to PSG, and then Chelsea buy you back if you're a bad player. Mm. And he's a leader. And we need leaders. So I think the business that Arsenal have done so far, even with the loan players, Ceballos bought Saliba. I think Saliba in years to come will prove cheap money. It will be a cheap transfer because he's 18 and he's playing. He's going to be starting for Saint Etienne. So I just think, the next 24 hours is going to be crazy. But honestly, I am delighted with the window so far, and I know it can get better because there's a few players out there who Arsenal could get that will really set fire to the Gunners this season.
Yeah, it's just a crazy window. I mean, I've never seen people go from utter despair on July 1st when we had, Martinelli and absolutely nobody else and no one rumored to 3 weeks later when it seems literally as though everybody other than Messi, Ronaldo, and Griezmann maybe is being under consideration to come here. Got some quick fire questions, and these are for round table, just to kind of get an answer out there. And we'll start with you, Kevin. Would you sell Iwobi for $30 million?
No.
Andy?
No.
All right, I'm a no on that as well. For $40 million, Kev?
Yeah.
$40 million. All right, so you're breaking point somewhere within.
I would.
Okay, Andy?
Yeah, if we reinvest that, then I would say yes.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think with all the rumors going on about some of the players we're looking at, I think if we were to sell Iwobi, given, unless it's in the last 5 minutes, I would hope that we would reinvest that. For 40, I think for 30, I might. For 30 and a ham sandwich, I think I might be willing because ham sandwiches are special to me. But all right, next question: would you spend $70 million on Upamecano? If that's, I've never actually heard anyone say it out loud, so I'm just assuming that. When it seems that stopgap alternatives like Luiz to bridge the gap to Saliba being a regular may be available much cheaper. Seems like 70 is the price, or 55 on a player. Kevin, what would you do?
I wouldn't spend 70 million on Upamecano, not yet. I personally think we can get players in there who can secure the back line cheaper. I really do, and then we can see how we go, because remember, we still got quite a few players who we need to bed in. So let's get that defense solid enough. I think the fullbacks are key, because Maitland-Niles is still being played out of position, which I think is wrong. I believe Arsenal have the opportunity to get a right back in. Kieran Tierney, I think it would be a really good acquisition. And then if you get Louise or somebody like that, I think that would secure the back four enough to get us into a top 4 place. And then once you get into a top 4 place at the end of this season, then you could start. You got Saliba coming in. Then you could start looking at, with bigger revenue, your Upper Meccano's or whoever is the hot one at that time.
All right, Andy, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I echo that. I would rather put that 70 into a Tierney and then probably another center back like a Rugani. Get 2 for 1 at that point. And as Kev said, I mean, everything that you hear about the Saliba kid is on track to be an absolute world-class center back. So and we've spent a lot of money on him. So I'd rather we get 2 for 1 or 3 for 1. And I'm all for Luis coming in if he's a 2-year stopgap to some of these other players, because he brings, as Kev mentioned, he's leadership, but his ability to find players breaking that offside trap, that long ball is just out. I mean, with the speed we have up front, it's going to be ridiculous. And he can also swoop in and play a defensive mid if we need it. So I would rather us save that 70 million and not bust it on one player who's still young.
I don't know. I'm gonna take the opposite side of this one. I mean, from everything I've heard, and I won't say seen, but everything I've heard about Upamecano, given his age, given the very rapid inflation of center backs in the last year or two, starting with with Van Dijk and continuing with Harry Maguire. I don't know that a proper center back, 21 years old, 22 years old, next year or the year after won't be in that 100 million category. So, certainly I don't think there's the money there to do that unless we were to sell Iwobi, possibly sell another player. I'd love it to be Mustafi, but I mean, Upamecano, Saliba, and Holding 2 years from now, just the being able to rotate those 3 in and not having had to pay more than a total of 102 million pounds maybe for the 3 of them. That's a back line you can have for a number of years. So I don't know. This seems like one of those generational opportunities, and a guy that's with a club that, we'll see him next year go to a Bayern Munich or something like that if we don't smack him this year. So that's my opinion on it. But Kev, should Eddie Nketiah be loaned out this season or kept as a super sub or cup game option?
No, I think he should be loaned out. I honestly do. Eddie's definitely got something. Eddie Nketiah, he's got a knack, but the issue is he's only really done it at under 23 level.
Right.
He's got to get out there. He's got
in
to
summertime.
He's got to learn what the game's about, because the war of attrition, that is the championship, possibly where he'll go. That's when you find out about real football, because all the big boys in the first team have done the hard yards. He hasn't done the hard yards yet, and I believe that's what he's got to do, especially as a striker. He has to get out there and feel some of the hits and take some of the bumps and bruises. And if he could get goals along the way, even better.
All right, that's great, Andy.
Wherever he goes, he just needs to play. I don't think he can go somewhere where he isn't going to be pushing for the starting 11 every week. I don't want to see him only playing 12 games next season. We saw preseason. He's got talent. He just needs to nurture it now. He needs to go to a good coach. I think Leeds is probably a really good place for him to go. So I want him playing every week.
Yeah, and on a team that is pushing for promotion to the Premier League rather than one. I'm not an expert on Bristol City, but I've not seen them snaking around the top 6 in the Championship recently. So, well, maybe right around there or thereabouts. But Leeds is always up there in that area. So I think I've probably turned around on this one in the sense that after watching him this summer, you just want him to be in the squad. You want him to take over the Welbeck position and be a super sub, or God forbid something happens to one of our main 2 guys up top, someone who might end up being plugged in there and having some success. But it's also harmful if he doesn't get enough play, and then when he goes in there, he's ineffective or not as confident because he doesn't have the repetitions. And and the stakes are too high for that to happen. So I think he probably would have gone on loan last season if not for Welbeck's injury. As it was, the other two stayed healthy, so Nketiah didn't get big minutes or important minutes. So maybe this is the season for him to go out on loan, come back next summer, wow whatever country or continent he goes to then, and then be ready for the big time. So
Yeah.
I think I can buy into that. Why is Shkodran Mustafi still on our team? You can pass if you want to.
Who, me to pass? No, I won't pass on anything. Look, I think Arsenal are playing a game that is a very, very smart game. Look, what Arsenal have to do, they have to get the bodies in, and they have to get more quality in than we already have.
Well,
Once we do that, by 5 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to know where we are. If they don't get the centre-backs that is required or the players in that they need, then Mustafi will have to stay because we just don't have the bodies right now. If we do get the bodies in, remember the European window is still open after the English one closes. So that's when we could start to do the business and get rid of some of these players who might be surplus to requirements.
Yeah, Boyce wants to know in the chat, by the way, are you the Kevin Campbell that played for Arsenal? we want to confirm this for our list. I mean, we're under the impression that it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yeah.
we wanted to make sure.
Go
ahead,
Mike. Kev just summed it up perfectly. We're playing the right game. I mean, we can't just let him go for nothing, right? And he can still do business. I think he's opened up to the fact that he's made mistakes and he wants to better himself. And that's all you can ask in a player, right? Is that they had acknowledged that they've made it. Yeah.
Is that what he's doing when he lifts his hands up after every mistake?
But Mike, I mean, if you're a player, like as a supporter, you want to know that a player knows, like, hey, I need to better myself, right? Because a lot of these players, I believe, collect a paycheck, and some of them don't care to get better. And
when he was cruising around LA in those sunglasses with that look on his face, did he come across to you as someone who was humble?
Well, I had a one-on-one chat with him, and he's tired because
yes, you asked him about his kids. One-on-one.
That's because my partner in crime had no questions ready for Mustafi. Kev, he literally had 4 pages of questions for every player on the team, and when I said, "What do you got for Mustafi?" he just looked at me and went, "I have nothing."
I was like,
he left that to you.
He just left it to you.
because I figured, what am I going to ask him? Like,
all I could think of.
How
was,
are your kids?
Let's talk about your family. Anyway, Twitter is a buzz right now, Mike. With the Rugani deal is done. There are reports coming out of Juventus saying that it's completed.
To me, again, I
in the last 5 minutes, which is.
Well, has Ornstein said it's done yet? Because I guess
no, but there's a guy. They're saying someone out of someone out of Italy, who's essentially the Ornstein of Juventus football of Italian football, is saying that the deal's completed. But who knows, right? Who knows? But if we bring in someone like him, it then ushers us the opportunity to remove a Mustafi from the squad. But I think that at the weekend we see Chambers and Socrates start this match against Newcastle.
Everything I'm hearing about Rugani, and again, it's all just public influencing, so you never really know what the push or the source of the information is that he is every bit as mistake prone as Mustafi is, that he's not super polished. And given the price tag being similar or higher than what Mustafi would cost a couple years ago, that worries me a little bit. I mean, I've not heard a single person say a single negative thing about Upamecano, or about, there's obviously, other than injury, things about Samuel Umtiti that that there's no one saying he's a poor defender, just that he's injury prone. So Rugani thing makes me a little bit nervous. And I don't know what Luiz is looking to cost us if very much at all. But I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that one. But what was the next question? Oh, as far as Mustafi is concerned, we can get rid of him after. And so I think, unlike in previous years where all of our moves were reactionary, They were based on, do we have somebody to replace this person? We're not going to buy the person until we know that we can sell the person to open up their spot. I think Raul understands the game now, and he understands how to do arbitrage of the windows, where one window closes earlier than the other. You bring in the players, you know that you'll be able to get some money going out, and you make the moves. It's refreshing. Andy, did you ever believe that Spurs were in the running for Dybala or Coutinho?
No.
Did those rumors give you any pause or worry whatsoever? Kevin?
Oh, for me,
Yeah.
Look, they like to get linked with these players, but they were never going to sign them. Never.
I mean,
even if they got to talks, the players would have turned them down anyway.
Well, apparently that's happened with Coutinho. At least he turned down a loan move. I just, one of the things that I'll give credit to Spurs for is keeping quality players on unexpectedly low wages for some reason, and maybe they just don't have the ambition to, but they've been able. I don't know exactly what they're paying Kane or what they're paying Eriksen, who is seemingly wanting away, but their wages are very, very small compared to other teams' top 2 or 3 players. Why they would bring in a player who's pretty much going to demand more money than Ozil, $400,000 a week in Coutinho or Dybala, especially, it just doesn't make any sense. So, like you said, Kevin, maybe they just want to get linked, and that's it.
Yeah, just want to get linked, and it makes them look better.
So
we've seen it for years, haven't we? We've seen it for years. We have.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We have Kane's on 200,000, Son 140, Ali 100, Lloris 100, and then Vertonghen 100. I mean, that's really good business by them. But the Dybala thing, it sounds like they agreed the deal. I read just recently that he wasn't certain on it, and then the image rights apparently are owned by a third party company. But Coutinho, for me, his link to both us and Spurs has never made sense. First, the wage bill he demands is going to be upwards of 300 a week. We already have players in that position. It doesn't make sense to me. If we were going to ship Ozil to you, Mike, in DC, then maybe that's but I don't see him making a Premier League return on loan to anyone other than Liverpool.
Yeah, and I don't know why he would. Well, apparently he wants Liverpool and they don't want him, which is an interesting, I respect that.
Kev, if Coutinho deal was made tomorrow on loan, would you be mad?
No.
See, I wouldn't either. Mike, would you be mad?
Would I be mad? No, I'd be confused, confused, excited, overwhelmed with options, and I wouldn't recognize my lover at this point. Like, it would be one of those situations where I'm like, what have you become? But I like it. Which happened when we were in Denver, Andy. But no, I wouldn't turn it down. I just wonder what was in the works. I wonder what the next domino to fall would be.
Yeah.
I just feel it will make, because Unai Emery likes to be flexible. It would make that squad a lot more flexible because Coutinho could play in various different positions.
I mean, I couldn't imagine Coutinho on a 2-year loan and Ozil being here at the end of 2 more years. It would lend more credence to the January rumors.
If it meant Iwobi getting shipped for 30 and Coutinho being able to play on the left with Ozil in the middle and Pepe on the right, I'm all for it. But that's a big wage bill, and I just don't think that we can sustain it. And I think the brass are looking at this and saying, okay, if we brought in a center back, Tierney, and then Coutinho, excellent. But we need help in other places.
Yeah. Kevin, is it true that Lee Judges owns your image rights?
Not drinking half a pint, no. Definitely not with half a pint.
His image rights just left on a free.
He doesn't even own his own image rights.
Based off of that video with him dancing on that stage, Kev, I don't know if you saw it, but
God.
He's lost all image rights and man card rights
He was
What,
dancing on a
he
stage with,
weren't
was it
dancing.
Tony?
He was trying to dance. He weren't dancing.
With
My
with
goodness.
with 8 foot tall Tony Fain as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nightmare. I don't know how that leaked out there. Especially someone must have hacked his WhatsApp account. Anyway, so technically, at the very basis level of just looking at the table and everything last season, Arsenal did improve slightly from the season before. They finished 5th instead of 6th. They were finalists in the Europa League rather than semifinalists. But I don't really know of anyone who, at the very end of May, right after that Europa League final, blowing every opportunity we had in our hands to get back in the Champions League through the league path, felt great about the season when it was over. So as it relates to the upcoming season, where we finished 5th last year, lost in a European final, Kevin, what is your definition of success this season? Is it as simple as just saying get back into the Champions League, or are you looking for something different, something more kind of intangible as far as the way we play? What are your thoughts?
No, I think what's really going to be important for Arsenal is it's a two-pronged attack for me. Arsenal have to qualify for the Champions League through the league. That's really important. Have to be in the top 4, and they have to win a trophy. I'll be honest with you. I don't care what trophy it is, because now we've got new players in with this group. They've got to feel that and have that taste of winning something. If they could win something, then that allows them to propel them forward. But if we go another season where we don't qualify for the Champions League, that which is the minimum, and win a trophy, then I think it's a bad season.
So 4th place and no trophies.
And a trophy, yes.
All right, so 4th place and no trophies, and we're looking
4th
at
place and a trophy.
No, I hear you. I'm saying if we don't win the trophy, but we still get into the Champions League, you're looking at that as not any kind of progression.
That's
all right,
par. Yeah.
All right, Andy, what do you think?
It's hard to say with the window not being closed, but I think if we bring in a center back, we compete for 3rd. I still think we're a little far away from Liverpool. We're miles from City, but yeah, it's got to be Champions League. With everything we're doing, we're setting up for Champions League. Was that the question?
Yeah. Well, no. It's what would be progress? I mean, to go from 6th to 5th and to go from the semis to the finals of the of the Europa League was technically progress, but it was underwhelming. I think there has to be significant growth from there this year. If we get 4th and no trophies, I think I guess we change it to, is that enough to keep Unai his job? And that,
I think we would take that, Mike, wouldn't we? We would take that, being in the Champions League, but would it be enough to keep Emery's job? I think it depends how the team perform.
Yeah. I mean, if you're taking no trophies and 4th, but you've been in 3 semifinals, and the matches in the finals have been, or you've made a cup final and you've played well, but you've lost 1-0 to a City. There's just so many variables to that. So as Kev said, it's got to be just the way we're performing on the pitch. I would take that in a heartbeat. If we mirrored last season, but we finished in 4th, I would take that. I think that is enough for him to keep his job. Yeah,
and I would think that if the team, I mean, if he still has the team, if the team is performing well together, it's just that they're still gelling, then it's got to propel them forward. As for Unai's job, I mean, he's got the club option for a 3rd year, so it's not like they'd be firing him in the middle of a 5-year contract or sacking him in the middle of a 5-year contract. They have the option to get out of this after 2 years without really a tremendous amount of special payments to him like there was with Arsene Wenger. But I just don't want to see things ripped up and started all over again. I don't know who would come in and just continue the team along better. I bank on Unai's system kind of coming into form and rounding up, and these players are going to buy into it. So I really don't think that we have to worry too much about regression. Especially with the extra players that we brought on and the improvement that we've made. But I'd like to see Unai Emery stick around if there's not a regression. If we don't do better than last season, or if we finish 4th with no trophies, and it's just like last season where there was just absolutely nobody winning games at the end and we still couldn't do any better, then maybe. But let's not even think about that.
Mike, can I add to that, please?
Please do, because I'm just rambling.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important how we are defensively.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna settle Unai Emery's fate. We know we're gonna score goals going forward, but we conceded 50-odd goals last season. If we can get that number down pretty significantly with new signings, then he's going to be, I think, before the end of the season, he might get that extra year or 2 years that he wants on his contract. I think that's really important for Arsenal fans to see that defence gelling and being tough to beat again.
And if I were him, I'd be pushing for certain moves to be made tomorrow. I would have been pushing for that to be made a little earlier than that, I think. But all right, so there is the issue of some roster crunches, and some of these have been resolved in the last couple of days. But the current roster, we have really two for the first team. We have two keepers, Leno and Martinez. That seems pretty static. Nothing's going to change there. Defense, we have Hector, Socrates, Holding, Monreal, Mustafi, Chambers, Mavropanos, Kolasinac. That's 8. And if you include Ainsley Maitland-Niles, our beloved Ainsley, as a defender, which it certainly seems he's going to be starting out the season at again, that's 9. Midfield, we've got El Neni returning for some reason, Mkhitaryan, Ceballos, Ozil, Torreira, Mainsley, who I've already counted, Guendouzi, Xhaka. Attack, Laka, Abba, Iwobi, and Pepe. So that's 22 players out of the 25 in your first team squad. Not a tremendous amount of homegrown players there either. You can have 25, but we've got Zach Medley, Joe Willock, Saka, Reece Nelson, Smith Rowe, Nketiah, who we feel will probably go on loan, Tyrese John-Jules, all players who have either just extended their contracts or been given a look at the first team. And we're linked with Tierney, Rugani, Coutinho, Messi, Jan Mavila, Frimpong, everybody world at this point. It almost seems like there's got to be a bunch more outs, and not just from loans, don't you think?
There will be. Again, you're talking from a position where the window isn't even closed. We
couldn't pod tomorrow afternoon, so we have to.
Yeah, exactly. So it's difficult. I believe Mkhitaryan might be a casualty.
There's been no smoke behind that, though, which is interesting.
There's no smoke behind Pepe, and then poof.
Yeah,
smoke everywhere.
I honestly think Mkhitaryan might be a sacrifice.
Well, and honestly, at his wages, that would be a miracle. I'd be less concerned with the fee if we can get out from under his wages, which are just too much. I mean, Mkhitaryan.
Here's a question for you boys: 15 for Mkhitaryan or 45 for Iwobi? Who are you letting out the door?
No, 45. Got to be.
Okay.
Because 45 can go to another player. That money could go on to buy another player.
But keep in mind, we would be saving 150,000 per week on wages, right? Because I think
that's what I was just trying to do. I was trying to do the quick math.
Saving 29 million. We're saving 29 million. You
True.
just showed the thing, so don't even come there with that one.
150 grand a week is about £8 million for the year. So, there is an offset, but yeah. And in that regard, we'd still have Mkhitaryan for depth, despite his salary. Let's get rid of both. This is like Football Manager, which I've never played, but Andy loves it.
Well, we got Ryan Call saying 45 for Iwobi. Rob saying take 45 for Iwobi. 312 Gooner, 45 for Iwobi. Boyce, I'd let Mickey go. Iwobi's still young. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think the 45 is speaking.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. So which of the academy players do you think gets placed on the first team? And by academy players, I'm talking about Joe Willock, who I wished well making the team, to Andy's chagrin or incredible joy. Kevin, did you hear that? I think we've told this story on each podcast since we were in Denver, but
tell it again. Go on, tell it again.
It makes me look good. It makes me look stupid. So Andy, do it.
We're Kev. We got the media passes, and we're standing on this platform where all the players are walking past, and we had the opportunity to ask for pictures or questions, and we figured, hey, let's just embrace this moment of being where we shouldn't be. And so, we mentioned Mustafi walked past. We had a quick chat with him. Ozil, we were kind of a little bit nervous to be like, hey, because you just got done training. But Willock walks past, and Mike yells.
Okay,
well, hold on. It was extremely loud.
What I was trying to the point I was trying to get across is that I was excited for him and that I was looking forward to like seeing him push the edges of the first team this year, like a positive reinforcement statement.
But from about 4 feet away, he screams at the top of his lungs, "Good luck making the team." Followed up quickly with, "Fuck, I'm an asshole."
Yeah, it came out like I was like, I was hoping that he wouldn't get cut from Arsenal altogether, and that he, like, good luck, young man. Not my greatest moment. You're lucky we weren't in the media, 20 some odd years.
Did you get a comment back?
No.
Well, I told Mike, I'm like, you've probably just ruined his career. But you did didn't we see him in LA where you wished him actually good luck this time around?
I think I atoned for most of my sins. I also atoned for the sin in the press conference with Unai Emery, where and we have video, which we need to put that out. Andy, if you can even bring it on the screen, I don't know if that'll go well, but
let me try and find the picture.
On Arsenal.com, they released the video of the press conference both the day before in LA, before the Bayern game, and the night after. We were at both. In the first, the press puts the press puts their phone.
Is he looking at you there?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, the audio recording is not that good when you're sitting in the seat. So you put your phone on the table right by the microphones, right by the coach, right by the player, and you record the audio. And what you don't do is have your alarm set to go off at 6 p.m. because it's supposed to remind you to have your dinner when you're on a diet program like I was. And the press conference starts at 5:57 and you forget to turn your alarm off. So if you go watch the video, what was it, like 8 minutes in or something like that, 3 minutes in, something like that, when Granit Xhaka gets asked if he wants to be the captain of Arsenal, all of a sudden you hear this alarm going off. You see Unai Emery reaching it. There's Dave Ziegler. You see Unai Emery reaching in to hold up the phone, like, who the hell's phone is this going off in the middle of the press conference? And then there's the back of my head walking up while Granit Xhaka shoots me a death look.
Granit Xhaka just wanted to 2-foot you.
He wanted to 2-foot me, and you can attest to this. For the remaining 10 minutes of the press conference, I probably sweated about 4 gallons of sweat because all of my embarrassment was working. I was sweating. I had body odor. I may have done something.
Palpitations.
It was absolutely awful. I had to get out of there. The next night, I got to ask Unai Emery a question. I didn't mess it up. My phone alarm didn't go off, and I redeemed myself. So it was a summer of redemption. But yeah, go. We'll link to the video because I don't think we can post it ourselves because it's Arsenal's. But yeah, you'll see one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. I forgot completely where we were in talking about that though. But it was about Willock. So Willock, I think obviously he's going to be in the 24 available for selection. He's not going out on loan. I don't buy the things about him going to Bayern. Do you, Andy?
No, I can't see that happening. I mean, just based off of what you hear from the senior management and from players, I mean, this kid is supposed to be just next level, and I think he's shown that he's ready to get merged into the squad now. So I don't see that happening.
Well, if you look on Arsenal.com's first team page where it lists the first team players officially, you don't see him on there yet. You don't see Reece Nelson on there yet, but I'd say he's probably sticking as well. I mean, these are going to be some.
Yeah, but you'll see that all change tomorrow. Right. I don't think Reece Nelson will keep number 24 either. I think that'll all change tomorrow when we know exactly. When they have to send into the Premier League, here's our squad. We'll know exactly then.
Which body's coming. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So there's a few, and those are homegrown players. So I tend to not be that worried about our homegrown quota if we sell a Wobie, which seems to be the narrative about it. Yeah, no, 95 Winston, he was not impressed with me at all. Not even one bit. So predictions. We got a years of predictions. We have never performed particularly well on our predictions. I think last year I had who was it? I had in the top 6. I had Fulham in the top 6 last season because of all that great money that they spent. And I think I got Fulham and Wolves mixed up. Maybe that's going to be my excuse. But so this time we're just going to do top 4, bottom 3, top scorer, most red cards, and the first manager sacked. And this is all league wide. So, Andy, why don't you get started with your top 4? And feel free in the chat room if you want to put your top 4 out there. We'll highlight them on the screen. And
so I've got City, Pool, Arsenal, then Spurs.
Oh, that's funny. That's exactly my top 4 as well.
Bingo. Yep. Full house.
So we're 3 for 3 on that one. I mean,
let me ask you this, because your heart's also with Everton, and they've done some real good business. Where do you see Everton finishing this season?
I think Everton really need to challenge for a top 6 spot. They really do. They finished last season well, but the issue they have is they've recruited well, but there's one big piece missing now, which was Kurt Zouma. They had Kurt Zouma in the building on loan. He's gone back to Chelsea, and it looks like Chelsea, Frank Lampard, they're not letting him go. So Yerry Mina's going to have to step up, and I'm not sure whether he'll be able to step up. I've not seen enough of Yerry Mina to comment. So I think what Everton need to do, they really need to challenge for a European spot.
Are we having Kev on the next time your cousin Sam is on after an Arsenal Everton game?
I would love to. I would love to. I think he might be listening now. That's why I asked the question. But I have Everton finishing in 6th. But yeah, if we could make that work, I think Sam would be able to say that would be the greatest achievement of his life. And his second baby was just born a couple weeks ago. So,
yeah, I think it should be first greatest achievement.
Let's go bottom 3. The bottom 3. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I've got Newcastle, Sheffield United, and Brighton.
Newcastle, interesting pick, considering that they seem to be on the rise until they undercut themselves yet again by getting rid of Benitez. So you think they're just floundering at this point?
Yeah.
And who else was in there?
Oh, sorry. I had Newcastle, Sheffield, and Brighton.
All right. Kevin, what do you think?
I think Sheffield United, Norwich, and the last one, Brighton. Possibly. I'm going to go for Brighton. Yeah, but I think Norwich and Sheffield United will struggle.
You see, the only reason I didn't pick Brighton is because they've got a guaranteed 6 points at least again when they play Arsenal. Unfortunately, and now my
anymore, Mike.
I'm trying to reverse jinx the situation here, but Norwich, Sheffield United, and Burnley. Burnley's due to slide. I think they hit their peak 2 seasons ago, so I had to pick one kind of mainstay team to go down rather than just the 3 that came up, and they're going to be my ones. Top scorer league wide. Let's go to a top scorer himself for that first. Kevin, who do you have from any team, not just ours?
Yeah, I know. I honestly believe Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is going to be the top guy. He had to share it last season. It was his first full season. He had to share it. But I just think with the firepower that's there and the creativity that's there, he's gonna be the man this season. So I'm gonna go with Aubameyang this season.
Okay, Andy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing. I think we're adding so much firepower around him. I see us falling short, but I see us scoring. I made a joke on Twitter. We're gonna have a goal difference. We're gonna score 100 goals, but have a goal difference of 2. Hey, stop up where this
You
defense
better
is
not.
right now. I know, but
Yeah, I've got Alba as well. I mean, with all the firepower, with as good as Lacazette is, Lacazette does so much more than just score goals. Aubameyang can as well, but he just, he's going to have those opportunities. And if it's not Ryan Fraser, then it'll be Aubameyang for sure.
Why don't we ask a question like, who's going to be his two main challengers?
That's a good one.
Lacazette and Pepe, of course. It's got to be.
That's a good question, Kev. I would go with probably Salah, and then I'm going to throw a curveball in here. I think Raheem Sterling is going to bang in some goals this season.
That could definitely happen. He seems to be in good form.
Yeah.
Kevin, do you have an idea? Is it going to be Theo?
It's going to be no, it's not Theo, unfortunately. It's going to be the usual suspects. It's going to be Harry Kane. He's going to be there or thereabouts. He always is, isn't he?
Aguero.
He will be. He will be close. But I think Aguero is due a big season.
He was only one off last season, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's always good for an injury, though. Although it never seems to affect his final numbers. As he gets old. How old is Aguero now? Is he at 30 yet?
He's getting up there.
He's 29, 30. Yeah, I think he's 29. He's still in his prime.
I mean, he's 29 until he's 30, though, Kevin. So let's not.
No, he's 29 or 30.
Hey,
I'm not exactly sure, Mike.
He's 31.
He's 31. See,
31. There you go. See?
I don't know if you can have him leading the league in goals at 31, 32.
Hey, that's your prime years, my man. Don't worry about that.
Well, that's true. They weren't my prime years, but they were yours. What do we? Who do you think is like a dark horse for that? Then a guy who just might bang in a ton of goals because he's the only guy on his team that scores.
Callum Wilson.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me to see somebody like that get into the 20s, but let's.
I'd like to see the lad who's Moise Ken. Moise Ken. Everton. I'd like to see him get amongst the goals because you know what, Everton create a lot of chances and they don't take them. But if he could get off to a good start, he could. Not saying he's going to challenge for the Golden Boot, but he could really make a difference to Everton.
Richarlison, maybe. Yeah. All right. So most red cards. This is an interesting one because it usually comes down to like a 5-way tie for second with 2, and then someone will end up with 3. But I would go with Socrates on this one. But this has been a tough one to call every year since Joey Barton left football. So
left league. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm with you on that, Mike.
Soccers. Same for you, Andy, or do you have another person in mind?
No, I'm gonna go with David Luiz because
now is that Chelsea's David Luiz or Arsenal's?
No, it'll
David
be
Luiz?
Chelsea's David Luiz if he stays there because of his anger, and then it'll be Arsenal's David Luiz for his passion.
Oh, okay.
So,
well put. That's but it'll be him either way.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good for Arsenal.
Nope.
If he comes to Arsenal, the two that we think are 2 centre halves will be getting the most red cards. That ain't good.
Yeah, we've got Michael Hernandez saying, John Joe Shelby from Matthew D'Souza, Xhaka for Michael Hernandez.
From Arsenal, my goodness. Not good.
First manager sacked. This is the last one, and then we're gonna take a minute to talk about Gooners versus Cancer, and then get the user questions real rapid fire. First manager to get sacked this season. I know the answer to this already.
Do you?
I do, but I want to hear yours first.
I hate to say it, but you know what? I know the Toon Army, they're not happy at the moment. Steve Bruce, he's fighting against that. He's fighting against his own fans to start with.
That's a good point.
If he doesn't have a great start, that could get ugly. So I'm going to say, unfortunately, it could be Steve Bruce.
Okay, certainly that there would be a lot of smoke there to him not getting off to a great start. We could maybe push him in that direction next Sunday. Yes. Andy, what do you think?
I am gonna go with Solskjaer. I just think that they are spending a lot of money to, they're spending a lot of money and it's the wrong money. But so Kev's right. Steve Bruce is the highest odds. I'm with second with Solskjaer. Mike, who you going with?
My preliminary thought was Hodgson at Crystal Palace.
Ooh, we got top three here.
Yeah. I can't even read that on my screen. Hopefully, it's showing up bigger in others. But Hodgson is it's a little blurry, but Hodgson is obviously off to a bad start with his best player theoretically putting in a transfer request the day before the deadline. Nothing makes a team play worse than disunity and players who want to leave. So I could see that going sour real quickly. Of course, they're another team that has the guaranteed 6 points every year, just like Brighton, unfortunately. But yeah. So, I could see any of those guys. I mean, the Newcastle situation is obviously going to be affected pretty quickly if they start off on a slide after 3 or 4 games. There's no question Ashley will have the quick hook, although, would that be an admission that he should have just ponied up and given Benitez what he wanted? Is his pride too much to sack a manager that quickly? Like Archie says, Ashley won't sack him after spending money. But Everton play Palace in the first game, and so maybe that can push my opinion into the right direction. So good predictions. We'll go back and revisit these at the end of the year. Hopefully I won't look as stupid as I did last year with my Fulham pick, but want to take just a quick minute to talk about Gooners versus Cancer. Kevin, I know you do a tremendous amount of charitable works around the world, which is great. I've been trying, and Andy's joined me in trying our hand in doing some things. We just got back a couple weeks ago from the summer tour, and Gooners versus Cancer just blew away its total fundraising from last year in just 2 weeks of having a couple of different auctions for signed shirts from your mate Alan Smith. 3 shirts raised almost $6,000. We've had other people do donations, and there's still about a month to go in our month to 6 weeks to go in our fundraising. And the current way we're doing it is 2-pronged. One is we're having a national day of giving. All the American pubs around the country, those who want to participate that aren't already raising funds for other areas, are going to have a Gooners versus Cancer Day on Saturday, 24th of August for the Liverpool game. Hopefully it will be a happy day all the way around and not spoiled by the outcome of the game. But we're going to be raising funds in a lot of different ways. There'll be things that are being given away. Kevin, I might have some favors to ask of you to help us in that regard.
Anytime, Mike. Anytime, you know that.
And you've said that, which I appreciate. The other thing that we're doing, and this is something that everybody can participate in, is GoonerAuction.com. GoonerAuction.com is a website that we are kicking into gear. We've been soliciting and getting a lot of very cool items, game tickets, all of these things from people, and the donations keep coming in. So keep an eye on GoonerAuction.com. There are already currently things for sale on there or for bid, like amazing tickets to a 2019-2020 Arsenal game. The price is going to be high on those because they're first row club level game for any game that you want to go to this season. So whether you're traveling from the U.S. or whether you live over there, these are amazing tickets. I've sat in them. They've been donated by Jack Stevenson, who's a good friend of the podcast. Yeah. We're going to have other game tickets that are coming to us directly from Arsenal. We have the clock watch from Gav at the She War Shop, some clock end canvases that you can bid on that are beautiful artwork about the old clock end at Highbury. Then we have one that I think you might be interested in, Kev, called Lee Judges Reads Smutty. What is it? Lee Judges Reads Smutty Passages, Crude Book Passages from the 50 Shades Generator. We're just going to have him on video reading these, and you can bid on that as cheap as $20.
He looks smutty, doesn't he? Look at him.
He looks very smutty. I don't know where those fingers have been, but he's agreed to do that, although I think he probably forgot that he agreed to do that. We have a few things that already sold. The penalty shootout. If you have not seen the penalty shootout that Andy and I did, go to our YouTube page at goonersubscribe.com. Everything's Gooner with us. And search for that video from a few weeks ago. It is the best piece of video that Andy has ever edited and that I've ever participated in. So you have to go watch that. And that was already bid on with a $50 donation from the New Orleans supporters group. The other thing that I just want to draw your attention to is the other Lee Judges auction, which is Lee Judges announces your personalized starting 11. You get to create a starting 11, just any starting 11 from any players in the world, and he's going to announce it. So if you are smart, you will pick some names like Upamecano and don't pick Xhaka and don't pick Frazier or anything like that.
Oh no.
So yeah, that's going to be that'll be an hour-long video of announcing 11 people. So just a lot of cool things you can bid on. You can get your own Gooners podcast bell signed by the one and only me. Who's going to buy that? I have no idea, but it's available. So anyway, it's a great way to raise some money. We're going to be continually adding new things, and the auction ends a week from Sunday on August 18th. So go to goonerauction.com and check that out, and just highly appreciate everybody who's been generous enough to donate to the cause. It's really a feel-good thing for us. So user questions. You got about 10 or 15 minutes for some user questions?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. From Ryan Cost, what are your thoughts on the new regime of Unai, Edu, Raul, and Vinay? How long-term do you think that this structure will last?
Well, I think it's essential for the football club. Obviously, with what's been going on with the disharmony with the owner and the fan base, I think getting these guys in place is essential for the owner to have a bit of quality in the club. Look, now we're seeing Arsenal working to a plan. They're working to a plan. They're working to a structure. They're engaging with whoever's got these best players. They can engage with them. Whereas the previous regime, they cut their nose off to spite their face a little bit, where there's certain agents they wouldn't deal with. And these agents had some of the better players. So, that's like playing football with, your laces tied together. It doesn't make sense. So if you're serious, you need to be able to engage these guys. It seems to me they're working. We're gonna get a better idea of what happens after 5 o'clock tomorrow, because whoever comes in, we're gonna start seeing a structure to how this playing staff and squad are gonna look. So I believe it's positive. We still need, obviously, defenders. We know that. But I think it's a positive move to get these guys in and work into a system, work into a plan.
Okay, great. Andy, I'm going to start with you on this next one, but I want to hear from Kevin as well.
Yep.
Where and now we're finally getting to it, Kev. Where does Koscielny rank in the Nasri, Fabregas, Van Persie snake spectrum?
He's on the ass end of it. Mike, and I loved Kev's response on this, I think yesterday or the day before, but and I said this from day one, he could have left the club a legend, and he decided to take the wrong route. I mean, not getting on the plane to America, as I said weeks ago, was absolute bullshit, because you're wearing the captain's armband, and with that, you have to become bigger than any bullshit that's happening. I mean, you can have your escapades with the boardroom, and you can say to them, I'm not happy, but you got to get on the plane, and you have to be that leader. For it to then spoil over where you hear him being a dick at training, and then the video yesterday, at some point, your brain needs to go, I'm not going to PSG or Juventus or Barcelona. This is a step backwards. Why are you then shitting on Arsenal yet again?
Porto was 14th in League.
It's not what a captain does. And so good riddance and fuck off. That's what I say to him. You know what, Mike? And had he come out with a, I'm on the plane to US, I'm leaving the club, I want to get back to France, I want to play football there, and he leaves a little message like Jenko, then yeah, he leaves as a legend, but he can fuck him. He's on the same breath now as Nasri, as Van Persie for me.
Yeah, I mean the difference is, I guess, it's not about the ambition of the team anymore, like it was with those three, where he's basically saying, I'm too big for this team. It's about some sour grapes about presumably being angry at being overplayed, leading to his injury. And I think earlier in our WhatsApp chat, Rob Ford said, that's your issue to deal with Arsene Wenger, not with the people who are currently with the club now.
Before Kev jumps in, here's the difference between like, and I hate comparing the two, but if you watch the Ronaldo special, the documentary, he on camera was like, I should never have played in the World Cup for Portugal. I was injured, but me being there meant more to the team just being in the locker room and training than it did on the pitch. That's a winner's mentality that thinks, okay, I'm hurt. And I get Portugal or like everything goes around the Ronaldo sphere, but he wasn't 100%. He would have played like a player who wants to win and a player who is only wants to win for the team, plays no matter what injury, and they don't bitch or complain about it. And Ronaldo wasn't saying, I shouldn't be here, I'm complaining about it. It was just the fact that he was saying, I let Portugal down because I wasn't 100%. I still showed up because it was more than me being on the pitch. And I think he missed the end of that tournament as well. So Koscielny can fuck off with that reasoning. You know what? He could have gotten done a two-legged challenge in training and tore something. That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he's just throwing his toys out of the pram and it's sour grapes. A real winner would have joined that French squad. A real winner would have played through the pain for Arsenal to win. And that's ultimately what we should be talking about was Koscielny left the club and look what he did to sacrifice himself for the club. That's not the conversation we're having now. It's he left like a little whiny bitch.
Yeah. How do you follow that, Kev?
You know, I've got strong views on what Koscielny done. Snake-like status, I don't think he's a snake per se. I don't think he's a snake because I just think when you are bestowed with the Arsenal captaincy, I'm speaking about from a position of being within the club. I've been on the terraces and I've been within the club, and I know what that captaincy means. It should mean the most to any player to be given that armband. And when you are bestowed with that armband, that elevates you to a new position. That means if there's any issues you have with the club or any player has any issue, they will come to you and you can then speak on a different level to the hierarchy at that football club. What you don't do is throw your toys out the pram. Whatever people talk about, he was promised he will go on a free by the previous regime. Well, that's not the issue. The issue is it's a new regime in place now. And whatever deal you had with the previous, all deals are off.
You're
So
under contract.
unless you go and speak to them about what was promised and, you know, you do things in the right and proper way, you're captain. You still have to lead by example. So the most important thing now was you get to pre-season. We're losing the Europa League final. We get to pre-season. And then he turns around as captain of the football club and says, one, he wants to go on a free transfer, so the club get nothing. And two, which is, I think, which adds to it with the cherry on top, he's not going to go on tour to America with the squad. Because it means so much to people in America to see the Arsenal squad and to see the captain go out there and lead by example. He's not doing that. So what type of person is he? He's not a man. To me, if you're going to be that captain and wear it with pride, he's not a man of his word. He don't see things through. And at the end of the day, he was greedy. And that was to the detriment of the football club, which, you know, is sad. But again, I say good riddance.
Yeah,
good riddance to him.
We saw
he's no legend. He's no legend at Arsenal.
No.
I don't think he was. I mean, look. I mean, all of a sudden it's become where if you're with the club for 7 or 8 seasons, you become a legend. And you know, I disagreed that Ramsey was a legend. I certainly wouldn't put Koscielny. Although every goal he scored, Koscielny, was an important one. It seemed that wasn't his role and his job on the team anyway. He always seemed like a reluctant leader, not necessarily vocal. You always wondered kind of there must be something we're not seeing that has this other than longevity. That has this club placing so much power in him. And then I think now all of a sudden we're seeing that, you know, there really just wasn't anything there because, you know, if there was, he wouldn't have done that. And I remember I was actually staying at Andy's house the morning that news broke, preparing for the Denver trip. And when I come downstairs, just bitching about like the banter club that we've become. You know, of course, I make the comment about how it's, you know, just more laughing at Arsenal. It really has nothing to do with Arsenal. In fact, what I've come to realize about it now is that it's showing the difference in Arsenal compared to in years past, where we're not letting the inmates run the asylum. And to be able to extract money out of Bordeaux in the end to get this guy out is something we wouldn't have done in the past, and it's brilliant business, and it also sets a tone of what Arsenal will be doing and what they won't be doing when it comes to players trying to be bigger than the club.
Guys, you know, when you actually look at this situation, Arsene Wenger for years said the character in the dressing room is fantastic. You know, there's a good camaraderie there, etc., etc. When you look at the past and you look at the here and now, the past players would never jeopardize anything like that. They wouldn't, even when they're leaving the club. They always spoke highly of the club. This is players that are not even captains. But if you've been at the club for 9 years and you wear that armband with pride, it should mean a lot more than, you know, the antics that he done, you know, taking the old Arsenal Puma shirt off and revealing the border. You know, after all that is said and done, I just think that's so low.
To me, that's worse than even what Giroud did on the bus.
But
you
like,
know,
compare it to the Fabregas situation, right? Where it was a kid who wants to go home to play for Barcelona at the time, the biggest club in the world. Someone forced a shirt onto him on a stage in front of millions of people watching, and the first thing he did was he ripped it off because he knew the image of that was bad, and he pushed it away, and he instantly came out and said, I wanted no part in that. We're talking about, at the time, a young man. Koscielny is a grown-ass man who should have saw that video and went, well, that's funny, I can't do that. Both of them were wearing the armband when they left the club, and that just, for me, Mike, is levels as to, you know, I mean, Fabregas, again, a lot of people were upset with it, but it's just the semantics of it all. It's the image of it all, and you're talking about a young 20-year-old versus a 33-year-old. I mean, it's just poor judgment. It's just absolutely poor judgment.
I agree, and there's no excuse for it, and that was the final nail in the coffin. If there was anything still inside me that was, you know, going to be appreciative or say just let him be, that was that. And I think I tweeted something yesterday about how, you know, with Bordeaux, he has the opportunity to end where he started in League Two. Because if they were 14th last year and they just brought him on as a defender, then you know, I could see that.
There's problems ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Let's hope so. Question in the chat from Danny, and keep posting your questions in the chat because we're using a new system, and it's one that we're trying to keep up on. Do you think George Graham is not respected by Arsenal fans as much as he deserves to be?
Yes and no. There's the older guard who know who George Graham is, who respect George Graham because he's the one who really, after a very tough patch in the 80s, got this club cranking again, got this club going with young up and coming players. I was at the back end of that. He's the one who put together that defensive system, that defense that was virtually impregnable at times, that saw us over an extended period of time challenge the team at the top, which was Liverpool at the time. And, you know, seeing us in a span of 3 years from 89 to 91 win 2 titles. So I think George Graham deserves a lot of respect. But remember, the game's moved on now. There's a lot of young fans who only have ever known Arsene Wenger. You know, George Graham is George who. So unfortunately, it's just the way life works, and it's just the way timing works. But, you know, any of those kids out there who's listening, they should go and check out some of them old videos because George Graham really done a good job of solidifying the club and pushing the club forward and making us winners again.
we have a minimum age of 21 to listen to this podcast because of the content. Everyone under 21 there are specific other podcasts that they listen to. I'm not going to name any of them, but you know who they are. No, that's an excellent point. And, I remember George Graham. Andy, you do. Despite the way it ended for him, if you just watch the 89 film and any of the other films that were, that involve his commentary or participation, you see that he was just a leader of a different ilk, just had a presence and a mentality that was perfect for Arsenal at that time. And then Arsene Wenger arrives and he was perfect for Arsenal at that time. And then, what happened. But so that's a great question, Danny. And, a question of someone who clearly.
Mike, this is what I will say. From the first day George Graham took over the football club, I remember it like it was yesterday. The first day it was pre-season and he had everybody lined up. He had Kenny Sansom and Viv Anderson and all these guys were the first team. And I was in the youth team right at the front. And the middle row was Rocastle, Thomas, Tony Adams and Martin Keown had just gone. It was them guys. Martin Hayes was around the first team, and he said, "I've come in here, and we're going to challenge Liverpool. They are the yardstick. And so for anybody who is not up for the fight, not willing to work towards getting Liverpool and beating Liverpool, come and see me." That was his first thing he said. So that sets the battle lines, doesn't it? That sets the battle lines. So George Graham knew what he wanted, and he he got it. He definitely got it.
I got a question for you. If Mesut Ozil actually does leave in January for my hometown club, DC United, who will be losing Wayne Rooney after this season, which I think I'll be okay with, does that somehow end up being the rare transfer that makes both teams better? I mean, it certainly will make DC United better.
Well, listen, it will make Arsenal. I think it will make Arsenal more robust and more flexible in what they can do in recruitment. That's for sure. Look, we know Ozil has quality on his day, but the problem is we don't see those days enough. And in the Premier League, people always make it difficult for him. They always get stuck right into Ozil because they know if they let him play, he can destroy them.
Yeah.
Now, how do you reconcile that, Andy, with what we saw this summer? Because Andy has been very quick to point out, and I don't disagree with him on this, from watching him play and watching him train even more so, that he looks a little different this season, and I don't just mean the hair. He looks like he's got a little bit different of an approach, or is it just
Mike? You start last season as Ozil, where politics aside, you're ousted from the German national team. There's a lot of racism that happened there. Your teammates, your friends were not in your corner. Some were, some weren't. Then you've got a new manager coming in who expects something different of you. I mean, there was just a lot happening, and then if you're led to believe the rumors, he had back injury, which is never an easy rehab. I don't know. I mean, there was a lot to go on. There was a lot happening off the pitch for the guy, and this year he just seems fresh. He's just married. Maybe his personal life has calmed down a little bit. I don't know, but we saw it firsthand because we got to go to some of the training sessions. You can tell why managers love him just based off of the training that we saw. I mean, he was the best player on the pitch every time a ball was on the grass, and he was around it every time. And even Unai kept saying during that training session, feed him, look for him. I mean, everything went his way. So I find it hard to believe that if that's how we're going through preseason training with the manager yelling to every player, find him whenever we can, that he would be shipped in January. I don't know. It's a bizarre one.
It'd be funny if he actually starts becoming good.
It creates it creates an ability to do a lot of different things, so we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, Gooner Taj, what I wasn't buying is the back injury. That's the only thing I wasn't buying. The rest of what Andy said is true. But it would be funny if he starts playing well. I mean, this becomes the whole contract year thing, except it's not his contract year yet. But all of a sudden he starts playing well, and we get excited, and we sign him for another 6 years at £7 million a week.
Mike, can
I know
just
his
add a
age
little bit?
precludes that.
Can I add a little bit to that?
Yes.
We've always said Mesut Ozil needs the weapons to be able to ahead of him so we can find them. He's got all the weapons now.
Yeah.
So how Mesut Ozil performs in the first 3 or 4 months of the season is going to determine his fate, I believe. Because if he's playing at a level and a consistency, that's the key. Not just the level, but the consistency that we know and believe he should be playing at, then I believe Unai Emery would be happy to keep him. But if he doesn't, and it's 1 in 10 games or 2 in 10 games, maybe, it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, I mean, this is his make or break season. I mean, he's got to be week in, week out, performing, putting up 7 or 8 out of 10 at least. I mean, you could argue he should be putting up 8s and 9s, not 7s. But as opposed to the occasional 9, mostly 5s, and games that he's just not playing in at all. We travel up to Newcastle. Is he in the 11 at Newcastle?
Yeah.
I don't know that he would be. Last season he wouldn't have been. Yeah. Unless, of course, he was, which I have no way of knowing. But a couple other comments, and I apologize for the questions I didn't get to. Some of them were answered. Jeff Gold wants to say, can I say thanks to Super Kev for all his service to the Arsenal and staying in touch with the fans, something he doesn't need to do, top man. I echo that, Jeff. Not only does he stay in touch with the fans through guesting on podcasts and being on the Highbury squad, but I mean, if you happen to be in the right place at the right time, you can buy a beer for him, and hell, he's bought me a beer, which was the honor of my lifetime. But well, that might be a slight exaggeration, but it was pretty close.
No, that's very nice of Jeff to say that. But I'm just like you guys. I've been a fan since I was, since I could walk. I've loved Arsenal. I went to my first game in 1977, and I've been a fan ever since. So it's weird that I was a fan first. I actually played for the game, played professional football, finished, but I've always been a fan, and now I'm back being a fan. Back trying to unite fans through the we care, do you movement. I think that's really important, and there's some things coming up that we're looking to do to engage more fans and around the world. Doing the Q&A before the Newcastle game and stuff like that. So this is really important at the Hippodrome in London. So
yeah, that's actually, I was going to ask you about that. For people that aren't going to the Newcastle game up in Newcastle but are in London, tell us about this Q&A. You're doing that with the Highbury squad girls,
with
right?
the Highbury squad, yeah, the girls Sophie and Amanda.
Will Soph be over for that?
No, she's gonna be on link from Los Angeles, so we got to get her in. So basically, this is
a couple drinks beforehand for her, maybe a little bit.
Of course, you know the script. She likes some mimosas, so that's good. What we're gonna do, it's at the Hippodrome in London, which is a casino. It's got a fantastic 10-foot top. Is it 4K HD screen, and it's curved. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a private so there's going to be probably 50 to 70 Gooners in there. Table service. It's going to be real personal, and we're going to have our own casino.
Damn.
Nice.
We have our own casino in our room. We have our own bar there, so we're locked off from all the other people in the casino. We have all our service. We're going to mingle first. We're going to have a Q&A. Then we're going to watch the game, halftime chat, get to the end of the game, hopefully a win, and we're going to have a chat then. And then we're going to mingle, and people could make their way home. So it should be a really, really good day. And hopefully it won't be the only one.
No,
there's going to be more. There's going to be more, because now we're still in the Europa. We're Thursday, Sunday. So it doesn't interfere with me going to watch my son on a Saturday.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic. So Stoke on a Saturday and London on a Sunday.
Right.
Is that something you can get tickets to? Is that
Yes, you
tell
just
people
check
who
out.
might want
Just
to
go
attend if they can how to do it?
Yeah, just go to the @Highbury squad, and all the details are there. Tweets are still going out now, although I know it's nearly full. So if you want to, you've got to really move really fast.
Well, that rules me out. I can't move very fast at all.
Now you can't move fast enough coming over from where you are. No.
Oh man, and you do the Highbury squad occasionally, regularly. I was on with Soph and Amanda a couple weeks ago when I was in Charlotte to talk about the whole experience with Josh, and you were nowhere to be found. I mean, were you avoiding me on purpose? Have I done something wrong, Kev?
Listen. That platform is too big for both of us. So you had it, so I had to stay off.
You can only have one Arsenal legend on the pod at a time.
Exactly, and you were the legend of the day.
Yeah, right. All right, so and you can listen on YouTube. It's at Highbury Squad. They do a great show. It's a good mix. Some comedy. There's
some exciting things coming, Mike.
Cool.
Watch out.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah,
we can follow you at
some exciting things for the fans coming up. Some events and some real good content things coming up. So just watch out for it.
And our entire chat room is imploring Arsenal to hire you in some capacity as ambassador for Arsenal public relations, as a supporter liaison.
I'm that anyway. I'm the support liaison anyway.
But we got to sort out how to get you over here to the States and come around to the different places. I know that we got to do some work on that.
Yeah, we've got to work on that, but it's going to get done. It will get resolved.
Get you to Gooners and all that, but yes. Maybe we have to wait till 2020 for that. But in any regard, it's been a pleasure having you on, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kev.
Thank you for joining us, Andy. You're off to the motherland tonight.
Yeah, I got a 7:00 flight.
Not to give away your private location, but
well, everyone knows I'm in Denver, and everyone knows I'm from England. So to say I'm going home. Yep.
He's going home.
Yeah.
Andy's going home. So yeah. So enjoy that. Enjoy being so close to Kev and not seeing him because of
selfish 5-year-old nephews who have to have birthday parties.
Exactly. Let's come
hey,
back.
Andy, I'm gonna feel you when you touch down, my man. I'm gonna
tomorrow around 11 a.m. Kev, you're gonna think England just got a little bit sexier, and then your brain's gonna go, Andy's here.
I like that, Andy. I like that.
Sweet. All right. Well, I think
guys, it always is a pleasure speaking to you. It's a pleasure having a beer with you whenever you're over. And listen, invite me on again, please. I look forward to it.
We will do that, and I may be over with my family over the festive period. So if you happen to be around, I'd love to hook up again. Thanks for joining us, Andy. Have a safe trip. We'll figure out when we're going to be able to pod next because both of us are doing some pretty crazy travel over the next week or so as I move my daughter into university. But we will be on to talk about the Newcastle game at some point. And thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube. And remember, goonersversuscancer.com and goonerauction.com. Great cause, great items for you to bid on. And that's about it. Gents, have a great week.
You too.
Fantastic. Take care, guys. Travel safe, Andy.
Thanks, Kev. Have a good one, boys.
Come on, you Gooners.